Welcome to Take Break. Tonight we step into the ancient city of Uruk, where a lone woman watches the walls for an unexpected guest. Little does she know, her vigil will set a legend in motion. A rugged figure emerges from the wilderness, drawn by the same curiosity that fuels his own restless spirit. He follows the woman, unaware that his path will soon intertwine with the city's destiny. She leans in and tells him of the king's recent nightmares, visions that have left the ruler uneasy and restless. The dreams hint at a change that could reshape Uruk's future. According to the tale, the king confided these troubling dreams to his mother, Nin's son, seeking guidance. Their conversation, shrouded in prophecy, foretells a new ally for the monarch. The prophecy reveals that a wild companion will soon arrive, a figure born of the untamed lands beyond the city. This stranger is destined to stand beside the king in the trials ahead. With the promise of a powerful ally, the king prepares to harness this new strength for his conquest. Their partnership will become a cornerstone of the legend that echoes through the ages. She leans close and urges the untamed stranger to cross the city's threshold, promising that the heart of Uruk beats just beyond the walls. She pulls a simple linen shirt from her satchel, insisting he clothe himself like the city's folk before he steps inside. She explains that survival here means learning their customs, talk, trade, and temper his raw instincts with civilization's rules. Clad in linen, he steps onto Uruk's stone streets, feeling the city's pulse thrum around his boots. He watches a plain citizen break bread, the simple ritual puzzling the wilderness-born. The man lifts a cup of milk, sipping it with quiet ease, another mystery of civilized life. The wild man stared at the crowded street, every shout and barter a blur he couldn't untangle. He felt like a raw animal dropped into a hive of strangers. She placed a rough loaf and a clay cup of milk in his hands and said, "Eat, drink. It's what every person does." Her voice was firm, leaving no room for doubt. She smiled, explaining that sharing food is the simplest rule of civilization. Just as the sun rises, people eat and drink together. Against his instinct, Enkidu reached out, his fingers closing around the crusty bread. For the first time, he let someone else guide his actions. The bite released a warm, earthy flavor that spread through his chest, a feeling he couldn't name, like the sun touching a cold stone. When the cool milk slid down his throat, a sudden surge of vigor coursed through his limbs, as if the very life of the city pulsed in his veins. The rhythm of Uruk starts to settle into Enkidu's bones. He feels the city's pulse, a gentle tug that pulls his wild instincts toward order. The harlot's steady presence guides his first steps into civilization. Enkidu's eyes linger on the stalls, where traders barter with animated gestures. He sees the exchange of goods as a dance, each movement a clue to the city's hidden order. The harlot whispers insights, turning curiosity into understanding. The air fills with shouted numbers, 10 shekels for barley. Each call a lesson in value and trade. Enkidu feels the cadence of commerce, a language he begins to grasp. The harlot translates the market's roar into simple terms. A chorus of youthful shouts breaks through the market clamor as children dart between stone walls. Enkidu sees innocence woven into the city's fabric, a reminder of life beyond the wild. The harlot points out the simple joys that bind the people together. She begins to outline the unwritten rules that keep Uruk steady: respect for elders, the duty to share, the balance of give and take. Enkidu listens, each word carving a new path in his mind. The harlot's guidance turns chaos into a framework. She demonstrates the art of hospitality, offering food, sharing drink, greeting guests with a smile. Enkidu takes the bread, feeling its warmth, and sips the milk, sensing a newfound strength. In that simple act, the wild man begins to taste civilization. Enkidu watches the locals exchange polite greetings, each word a small ritual. He mimics the cadence, stumbling at first, but quickly catching the rhythm of their courteous phrases. The strangers offer him a slice of flatbread, and Enkidu pushes his bowl forward, offering his own portion in return. The simple act of sharing a meal feels like a bridge between his wild past and this new world. With each courteous exchange, the raw edge of his wilderness softens. He feels a surprising sense of ease settle over him, as if the city itself is beginning to welcome him. Night drapes the city in a soft amber haze, and the streets hum with distant chatter. Enkidu moves forward, the glow wrapping around him like a new kind of armor. He pauses, letting the city's rhythm settle in his mind. The contrast between his raw instincts and the polite customs he's learned feels like two worlds finally touching. Even as the city lights fade, memories of the wild woods surge back, rushing rivers, the scent of pine, the untamed wind. Those images remind him of who he once was, grounding his new purpose in the roots of his past. The harlot leans close, her voice low, and tells Enkidu that Gilgamesh dreams of greatness. She says the king wants to etch his name into the world, to be remembered beyond the walls of Uruk. The ambition burns like a fire in his chest. She spreads a weather-worn map and whispers that Gilgamesh plans to march on Elam, the rival kingdom to the east. Together, the king and his new companion will strike, carving a path of conquest. The plan feels as wild as the steppe wind. A sudden chill runs through Enkidu as he senses his own path nodding with the king's. It feels as if fate has tied their destinies together with an invisible cord. He realizes his wild past is about to merge with royal purpose. Enkidu feels a warm pulse, like a shared heartbeat, linking him to the king beyond words. The bond forms silently, as natural as breath, promising loyalty and shared triumph. He knows the king will soon need his strength. She warns Enkidu that the road ahead is riddled with hardship, rival warriors, treacherous terrain, and restless hearts. No victory comes without a price, she cautions. The warning hangs heavy in the night air. She hints that the gods themselves will test Gilgamesh and his new ally, sending omens and challenges from the heavens. Divine trials will shape their quest as much as any sword or shield. The air trembles with the promise of unseen powers. Enkidu looks the king in the eye and swears he'll stand by him, no matter the danger. The harlot watches, knowing the pact will bind them both to the coming war. As he walks the streets, the clatter of carts and chatter of vendors sync with his own pulse. Uruk's rhythm feels like a second heartbeat under his ribs. He lets go of his wild past and takes on the title of the king's companion, a trusted ally. The harlot nods, seeing the transformation take root. A soft smile spreads across the harlot's face, a sign that his acceptance is complete. In that moment, the city seems to hold its breath, waiting. The feral edge of Enkidu's nature begins to dull, replaced by a steadier calm. Even his eyes lose some of their animal fire, hinting at the man he is becoming. He gathers his modest gear, ready for the journey that will lead him to Gilgamesh's side. The harlot hands him a token, a silent promise of support as they prepare to leave Uruk. Enkidu steadies himself, feeling the pulse of the city sink with his own heart. He nods to the harlot, ready to follow the king's call, and the tale holds its breath at his moment of resolve. The scribe's hand stops mid-stroke, leaving a fragment that whispers of battles and journeys still to come. The missing words tease a future that the listeners can only imagine. And so we pause, leaving the road open for what lies ahead. Stay tuned, because the next chapter of Enkidu and Gilgamesh is just beyond the horizon. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Take Break, turn on notifications, and share it with a friend who loves a good story.